I can get funding to pay for it. Cool. I got to start applying now. It takes a long time to get approved, so I should apply now.
All right, so we've got our UI designed. So we're going to need some event handlers. So first, let's deal with our text input first. So we'll jump into our main activity.kt. I think the first thing I want to do in here is let's create and initialize some variables that we're going to need. How many variables do we need to get this to run? 6, actually probably not quite that many. Let's look at the UI. Well, let's name them. What variables are we going to need to keep track of in order to make this functional? Yeah, we're going to need the amount from the edit text. What else will we need? The tip percentage. Yeah, and then we'll need to calculate. So these are our 2 inputs, and these are our 2 outputs. So we'll declare these globally so that we can keep track of them, because changing the text will change values, and changing the seek bar will also change our outputs. So let's initialize them. Now in Kotlin, our variable type, we usually use var or let, right? We're not explicitly declaring a variable type. So it's important, if I'm going to initialize amount and I want it to be, notice when I declare it this way and initialize it to 0, it's not showing what I want to show. It's important I use the 0.0. If I declare it this way, what data type will Kotlin infer this variable is? Not Boolean. Right. It'll assume it's an integer. I don't want it to treat it like an integer. I want it to assume it's a double. So I'm going to actually initialize it to 0.0. I'll undo this later and we'll see the effects of this. We'll initialize the tip percent. That's 0.15 because that's our default value. And then let's initialize both tip and total. Again, make sure you initialize them all with the decimal so that the compiler will infer these are doubles and not integers. So we want to add an event handler to fire whenever we change the text property of our text. Now there's 2 ways we can get references to the views in our UI in our Kotlin code. There's the default way, which is cumbersome, and there's the shortcut way. Right, if we import the synthetic library, we don't need to manually declare and instantiate each of the views from our layout file. So let's add that reference. We'll add Kotlin synthetic to auto bind to all views in UI. So we're going to probably add this on all our activities. So we're going to import Kotlin X. Android synthetic main activity main dot star. So I put this line in tools and resources because we're going to want to add it basically to every activity we build all semester. So it will auto bind our Kotlin code to any views we place in the UI. We don't have to declare each one and call find view by ID before we can interact with it programmatically. So now if I just go to reference my edit text, it automatically finds that reference. We no longer need to declare and call find view by ID. So Vlad, I'll ask you, because you kind of were poking around with this, what do we want here? What do we want to do with our edit text? You got it. We're going to call the add text change listener. So we're going to override this. We're going to, so as an incoming parameter, it accepts this object called the text watcher. Now, we're going to need to import this class. It doesn't know by default what text watcher is. So if we use